Did you all land in the SPRC training that you wanted to be in? This is SPRC or PPR, some
Yes.
call it. Good, good. Well, thank you all for being here. All right, well, I'm going to get started, and we have a little more time. We were not supposed to start until 3, but then this gives us more time to do question and answer, and I hope you'll do that if you have any questions or whatever. That would be great. Again, I'm Cassie Wade. I have the honor and privilege of serving as the district superintendent for the East District and for the Mid-North District, which is 16 counties to the north and to the east of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So that's where I am from. So it's good to see all of you here today. The role of SBRC. How many of you, well, I can't really see, but I know some of you have served on SPRC for a long time. You're well versed in what SPRC does. There's probably some of you that might be new to it this year. And so I just want to kind of let you know that what this committee, the importance of this committee in the life of the church. You are the liaison between the congregation, the pastor, and the staff of the church. It's not this committee's job to necessarily supervise staff. Usually that is a role that is lays under the pastor and other areas in the life of the church, but you definitely set the policy, set the direction, ensure the staff makes the priorities that meet the goals and visions of the church. So it's an important job. I'm going to start with a little prayer. It's actually straight out of Philippians. This is the prayer that Paul is saying over the church in Philippi, and I just think it speaks so well to the work that we do in SPRC. So will you bow with me? Oh God, this is my prayer, that these people who serve so faithfully on SPRC, that their love might become even more and more rich with knowledge and all kinds of insight. I pray that they will be able to decide what really matters. And so they will be sincere and blameless in the day that Christ is about them. I pray that they will then be filled with fruits of righteousness, which comes from Jesus, in order to give glory and praise to God. I give you thanks for their ministries. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So I want to call your attention to, there's some new job descriptions. These came out after, they're always published out of the um, Discipleship Ministries, General Board of Discipleship Ministries, and it's called the new job descriptions. I am going to put that link, if I can get all my ducks in a row, I want to put that link in the chat for you because you can get this and read it. It has so much more than what we can cover in a day. So let me pull up my chat here.
Do we order it?
Yeah, it's not I think it's like $4.99 or something. It's not terribly expensive, but it is the new job descriptions for all the different committees, including SPRC. So yeah, that's the link where you can order that. Yes, ma'am.
And where are you putting that link?
Okay, put that in the chat. On your screen, there is a button that says chat.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah, and then you'll see the link there. Yeah. Okay.
Take a
So,
picture of the link with your phone.
I'm sorry?
I said people can take a picture of the link with their phone if they're not able to hook into it right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay. All right, let's talk about this SPRC and what this committee does. All right. So people serving on this committee first and foremost, are expected to be engaged in and attentive to their own spiritual development. This is straight out of the Book of Discipline in paragraph 2558.2. It is really important that we continue to work on our own spiritual development. So in a minute, I'm going to talk to you about your meetings. And it would be my suggestion that at every meeting we work on our own spiritual development as leaders, as well as spend 5 or 10 minutes on that, and then also on some leadership development, so that we can give proper leadership in the responsibilities that this committee is entrusted with. That's kind of like very important. So then let's talk a little bit about membership. Who is on this committee? Some of you may be, it's interesting because some of you may be a part of a system that's called the Single Accountability Board. And in those structures, the SPRC is a portion of the meeting in which it is a closed session and you speak about SPRC specific items. And we're going to go into those in just a minute. And everybody on the accountability board serves on the SPRC. If you have the more traditional model where you have all of the 4 administrative committees, administrative council, finance, trustees, and SPRC, then you're to have no less than 5, but no more than 9 members that are elected in classes, 3-year classes. So every year, a third of your membership would roll off. Your lay leader is a part of this over and above the 9 members, 5 to 9 members. Your lay member to annual conference is also a part of this committee. For obvious reasons, no staff member or immediate family members of the pastor or the staff can be on there, and only one person from an immediate family or the same household should be on there. I know that's some of my churches, that's pretty hard to do because we have small churches, and so just be sensitive to that and do the best you can when it comes to asking people to serve that are from immediate family. In those charges with more than one church, there is at least one representative, and the lay leader from each of the local congregations is expected to be on there. So in the guideline book that you will order, it says United Methodist congregations give the staff or pastor parish relations committee the responsibility of administering the relationship between the staff, the congregation, and the district superintendent so that the mission of the church moves forward. The Book of Discipline makes it very clear that the committee should reflect biblically and theologically on the role and the work of the pastor and the staff as they carry out their leadership responsibilities. Sometimes we kind of get caught up in our secular world and how HR is run in our businesses. And while we are expected, if we have staff, to adhere to our federal guidelines of hiring practices and best practices, we are first and foremost the church. And so to keep our biblical and theological focus in our work is very important for us to do. So, who are your resource people to help you do that? Well, obviously, your superintendent, district superintendent, and then annual conference staff people. Now, I put these names in here. The director of, actually not names, roles, okay? Because I don't know if these might change, but currently our director of care and healing is Joy Dister Dominguez. And I wanted you to understand what kinds of things each of these directors do that might impact your work in staff parish relations. So in care and healing, in that center, there is an area about mental wellness. There's a group that we can deploy to help you with conflict and any kind of crisis management. Crisis management might happen if there were um, a, a sudden death of the pastor. It might also have come into play if there is sudden removal of a pastor or a staff person that might institute crisis management, and then conflict and mental wellness. Also, in your work, you might want to relate to the Director of Youth Empowerment, because in this center, back to the people that I think could help you in your role, I talked about Director of Care and Healing, Youth Empowerment, and also the Director of Leadership Development, that is Derek Jacobs. And so they can help you in this job. Ordained and lay people in the local church and people in your community. You have people that work in your community that understand law when it comes to working with our lay people who are on staff. There's people who can help you with mediation, all kinds of things like that that might be helpful. So let's talk a little bit about the tasks of the committee. So your job is to nurture and support the staff and the pastor. So really important that you help your pastors maintain healthy work-life balance. So if you have a pastor that's there every time you turn around, it would be helpful for you to be the person that comes alongside and says, "Tell me how you balance your life with work and your family and all of the things that you have to do." You are also the person that will help staff people with the same kinds of things. Work-life balance, also set vacation policies. Okay, so nurture and support of your staff and your and your pastor. Setting policies around vacations, insurance, pensions, other matters that are outlined in the work of being kind of an HR function. Okay, staff effectiveness, staff evaluation. So I'm going to come back to some of these because we're going to talk in more detail about some things that you'll need to know that are specific to the HTC. Promoting unity in the church. And congregational education. And what that means is teaching the congregation about itineracy. Sometimes not all of our members grew up United Methodist, and some of them don't understand about our why we have the itinerant system. And so you can help us by helping them to understand that. Also help them to thank you for your helpers, Keith, and all of you who are helping us to navigate. I appreciate that. So teach the congregation education. You can also help people understand the steps that it takes to get into ordained and a licensed ministry. Sometimes people in the congregation don't understand all of those steps either, and those are important for you to be the liaison between the church and the staff. You want to write good job descriptions? I'm right there. Job descriptions and recommend staff positions to the church council. Continuing ed and spiritual development. Those are both really important for all of your staff people, and the district superintendent consultation. This is the committee that works with your district superintendent to identify your mission field. Tell us what kind of leadership you need in your local church. If there's any kind of question you might have about itineracy or anything like that, you can work with your district superintendent. You have some personnel committees or policies that you write, and then also you are the body that will lift up candidates for ministry. This is whether those candidates are in working towards ordination or licensing. And you also lift up certified lay servants, speakers, and ministers. So in my world, I use a lot of the certified lay servants, speakers, and ministers to work in some small churches. They do amazing jobs. They come through, they work with the district superintendent and the DCOM, which is the District Committee on Ministry. So like your people that are interested in a vocational ministry, these people also have vocational ministries. How often should you meet? At least quarterly. And I'm going to give you kind of a rhythm here in a minute of what that might look like, the kinds of things you would cover in each quarter. And all of your sessions are closed. They're confidential sessions. We're going to talk about confidentiality in just a moment. Who can call a meeting? This is important. Your SPRC chair can call a meeting. Your pastor can call a meeting. The district superintendent, the bishop, are the people that can call a meeting. So if there's other people that want to call a meeting, they've got to work with your chairperson to call that. Who must know about a meeting? This is important for you as well. Sometimes I get the question, does my pastor need to know that we are meeting? Yes, the pastor should be present at every meeting of the committee, except where the pastor excuses themselves or the district superintendent has asked for the pastor to step out. So the pastor always needs to know about that meeting. Who must be present? And that would be the pastor must be present and the committee members. And then when the appointment of a pastor or employment of any member of the staff is to be discussed and that person is not present, that person must be informed prior to that meeting and immediately after be brought into the consultation by either the committee chairperson or the district superintendent. So transparency, folks, not you, again, this is a confidential world, but we also are transparent about our work together. So we want to make sure we build that area of transparency. Let's talk a little bit about how we could do that across the 4 quarters of a year. You could meet 4 times, and what kinds of things you might do. January to March, the committee might gather to just do an introduction and orientation for new members. I'm going to show you the clergy evaluation tool and before we wrap it up. And so you might cover some of the questions. If you cover these questions throughout the year, then when you come to actually writing the report to submit for the district superintendent, you have worked on them. It also gives you an opportunity to be in dialogue with your pastor as you're going throughout the year, and everybody is on the same page on the things that they're being evaluated on. You can also begin to talk about who are ministry candidates that we're lifting for ministry. Is there someone who's filling a call to ministry? They should meet with the SPRC early in the year so that they can go through the process. There's also a plan. I'm going to talk about it briefly about communication plan. How do we communicate when rumors or conflict arise? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. What would you do in the second quarter of the year? Maybe strategies to meet expectations, parsonage, housing issues. This might be a good time to do the inspection of this parsonage, which is part of trustees, but it also is a part of your duty because it is your job to ensure that all of your pastors have adequate housing for their role. Might be a good time to do policy review, ministry safe checks, and background checks. Let me stop here just briefly and tell you that the two forms of accountability that the ministry safe is for you. It is done at the local church level, and every pastor should take ministry safe, and you keep those records. There's a background check and a ethics, sexual ethics course that pastors have to take. Background every year, sexual ethics every other year. Those are done at the conference level. And so it's a good idea for the SPRC to say, hey, Pastor, how are you doing on making sure that you are compliant on your background check and your ethics course that you have to take? If there is to be a transition between pastors, this is the time in which your SPRC will form a transition team and work with the district superintendent to see that that takes place well. Then in the summertime, great time for you to review job descriptions, staffing needs, review salary and benefit packages. You're getting ready for all of the discussions around budgets and all of that work. And so you want to kind of be ready for those whenever you need to submit a budget. Conduct your clergy evaluation. I put this here because that evaluation is due sooner and sooner in the year. It used to be close to December the 1st. It now can be as early as October 15th this last year when we had our clergy evaluations ready to be submitted. And then review your leadership development. In October to December, you could start reviewing all your non-clergy annual evaluations, report to your charge conference, and in your report to charge conference, you will have anybody that is in coming up for ministry, that's part of it. You also have to, anybody who is doing their certified lay servant, speaker, or ministry, they have to have their report a part of your charge conference paperwork. So you want to keep that in mind. Complete unfinished business, annual consultation with the district superintendent if necessary. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment when I talk about the HTC specific forms. Okay, administrative responsibilities. So you will want to evaluate your staff. And, you know, sometimes I think small churches say, well, we just have, some part-time music folks that help us on Sunday. It's a great opportunity to, even if there's not a big formal evaluation, but to have an opportunity to sit and speak with them and just evaluate and love on them for the work and the way they give to you, set expectations and work around staff throughout the year, and update job descriptions. Your job is to maintain the relationship through communications. You provide information to your district superintendent, and this is going to be done in the form of a church profile. That is not, that is very familiar to people who are from the legacy NTC, but the other conferences did not necessarily have the same form when it came to talking about their ministry setting. We call it a church profile. And I'm going to show you where to get it. I'm going to also show you what it looks like in just a minute. This is the responsibility of the SPRC and the pastor to work on together. This is where you say, we are living in a community that has this kind of mission field around us, demographics wise, needs wise, all kinds of things, so that you and your district superintendent have a better understanding of what kinds of needs you need for your pastoral staff. You relate the hopes and dreams of the congregation to the staff. This is really important. Help them understand that. Be their sounding board. Be their liaison. Share with the congregation the progress the staff is making towards meeting all of those goals. This is, important as well. Let's talk a minute about confidentiality. Okay, so this is straight from the guidelines. And I have to tell you, it's come in so handy a couple of times in all kinds of scenarios. Confidentiality generally means that the committee members will not talk to people outside the committee about information that's shared inside these meetings. The term confidential refers to a stewardship of information which access is carefully limited, not restricted. So confidentiality does not mean secrecy, in which information is shared informally but not officially, nor does it mean that it's silence, in which information is never divulged under any circumstances. Now, let me give you a for instance. In confidentiality, you share none of the details, but in transparency, you might share that a staff person has left the staff and the dates that is effective and maybe what they're going to do. You cannot share the details of why they're leaving or anything like that. That's confidentiality. That's an official nature. It's not secrecy and it is not silence. Okay. I also want to say down here, this is really important. There's federal laws that all of your people in roles where they have oversight for others, like your youth pastors, your children's ministers, staff people working with that. There's some state and federal laws regarding access to protected and personnel files. Those have to be maintained, but there is some regulations about reporting abuse and offenses. So if a pastor or staff person has to report, it is up to the SPRC to back them and support them when they have to do that. It's a hard place to be. No one wants to do that, but we walk this together. It's an area of a sacred trust, and you enter that sacred trust with your staff people and your clergy. So, confidential, private matters shared in trust. Secrecy is something hidden or concealed. What do you think the differences are? Just put it in your chat. I'm going to kind of monitor that and see what you guys are saying about your chat here. What do you think the difference is between secrecy and confidentiality?
Oh, one of them is it's got more the secrecy is something that I think is like just like it says, it's hidden and concealed, and a lot of people don't know and probably
Yeah,
never come out. Private matters are shared in trust.
yeah,
Uh, that is something that a group of people can decide on rather than,
yeah.
one or two people hiding something. So confidentiality is a real good way to approach a lot of stuff in the church. So the secrecy deal, you know, I can run into some problems.
That can run into some problems. Yeah, and secrecy is typically less, it's unofficial, right? So it could be that someone shares with you a secret that they don't want divulged about their personal lives. But confidentiality, I'm going to read some of these. These are perfect. Confidentiality for protection of personal information. That's correct. Confidentiality conveys that something will be taken care of with integrity. Secrecy implies things that are hidden, sometimes sketchy. Sometimes that's true. If someone has to leave the church because of health reasons, you would not want to reveal the nature of the health issue, but you could say that they have they are no longer going to serve in whatever capacity they are. So that's the difference between being silent and also sharing what is appropriate.
I think it has a place for both of them. There's a place there for both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Make a comment. Confidentiality is something entrusted to certain people that isn't inherently harmful to others, but secrecy sometimes can be dishonest and harmful. That's a good explanation of the difference. Very good. Okay, let me get back to our slide here. Go on. Okay, staff support. SPRC is responsible for encouraging, strengthening, nurturing, and supporting and respecting the pastor and the staff and their families. There's some really good ways that you can do that. I've mentioned briefly, encourage them with their health care, make sure they're taking care of themselves, life and work balance. Staff appreciation. This is beautiful. This is where you take time to say, hey, we appreciate what you do. It could be as simple as a phone call. It could be as elaborate as having a staff appreciation day with a potluck meal after church one day. What are some of the ways that you you have done staff appreciation? You can you open your mic and share if you'd like, or you can put it in the chat.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Our church is really good about, we'll have staff appreciation, whether it be pastor or anyone else. And sometimes we'll have, people make a donation and then we'll buy something for them that, that is special for them. And we'll have them honored at church on, like you said, on potluck Sunday. And
Yeah.
we'll get potluck and have a surprise honoring of them at that time. And that's always been real positive thing for our church.
Yeah. Thank you. Perfect. There is Pastor Appreciation Month, October, I think. But remember that it's also important to appreciate your staff as well, right? Because often they go, especially if they're not an upfront person, like they work behind the scenes, a lot of times they go unrecognized. So recognize the pastor's birthday I saw. We present love offerings in December. That's nice. Thanking a pastor's family for supporting pastor's call to ministry. That is also wonderful. Yeah. That is your job, is to appreciate your staff, your pastor and your staff. Really important job that you have.
And sometimes your staff is actually members of your church. If you have a really small church like we do, it's actually members of the church. You step forward and do just a lot of over the top things for the church. And we recognize it.
That's so right. Yes, recognizing that.
We had a unique situation happen with our pastor and his wife. They lost their son in an automobile accident, and so we knew they were really going through it, right? So we got an Airbnb for them so they could take a little time off. Our pastor likes to fish, so we make sure it was on a lake, dock and all that. And he still mentions that to me today. That's been about, I guess it's been about 4 years ago that happened, but he still remembers that, and talks about how much it helped him. It helped him and his wife move forward. You never forget anything like that, but you just learn to live with it and move forward. And he said it was a big help. And so we try to watch out for people like that in our congregation that may be going through some problems or something, or to try to help them. I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, that is perfect, Jerry. Perfect. Yep. When I was pastoring my SPRC and the whole congregation, when my mother had her heart attack, they took the reins and covered worship and everything so that I didn't have to think about a thing. And it just makes all the difference in the world. So I appreciate lay people that come alongside and do that for sure. How about establishing one-on-one relationships? I want to talk about that a little bit. Like some SPRCs have they assign their members of the SPRC to a staff person, and then they just call on them. They send them special cards. They kind of see to pray for them. They reach out to them and talk, on a regular basis just to find out how they're doing. And I think that's a beautiful way to not only appreciate, but also remember that these are people too, and that there's nothing special about any of us. We're all people, we're all part of God's family, and we walk this journey together. So supporting each other one on one is always important. Continuing ed, I want to talk about that too. Continuing education. This is for me really important that churches remember that our pastors, especially if you have a local pastor, many of them are still doing some of their course of study, and so giving them time, adequate time to do that. But even if you have an ordained person, giving them adequate time to continuing education makes them a better pastor. It makes them a better staff person. Finding not only time and space for them to do that, but also helping them find the funds so that they can do that. Workshops, seminars, something that is specific to their ongoing growth in continuing education. Building intentional communication plan. So these are strategies for listening to and responding to various voices of the congregation. So there's a lot of strategies around this, and a lot of times what happens, I can remember when I was on SPRC, is people want to pull you aside and say, hey, listen, I want to know more about what's going on, or hey, listen, I need to tell you about this or that. So there's some strategies that you as an SPRC can develop to help um, to help your individual members know how to be listening ears and not a part of the rumor mill, if it's a part of a rumor mill, right? And to do it in a healthy way. And so one task is to develop strategies for listening. This could be one of your continuing education. If you're an SPRC chair, you might want to do that. How do we listen? What's the best way to do that? Also developing um, um, skills in how do we read body language, things like that. Understanding cultural differences. Perhaps there is a cultural misunderstanding between pastor and a member of the congregation. How do we understand that? How do we continue to grow in our understanding of how these differences um, um, come into being, and how do we treat them with sacred trust and worth that they are coming at us? So this is an area that you can build a communication plan and help your SPRC committees deal with those kinds of voices. On that intentional plan, you will want to include the who, when, and how. And these are things like who do we contact if something happens? When do we contact, and how do we go about contacting this? So these are really important. Let's say there is if there's rumors, okay, we don't want rumors. How do we deal with that? Develop a plan to manage and handle conflict. When there's conflict, how do we handle it? Where do we start with the two individuals, or do we go immediately to the superintendent? And so I do want to tell you that your superintendent is here as a conversation partner for you in handling some of these delicate matters, and can help you with developing a plan that will be important. So who's going to speak on behalf of the church? Who will inform what body, and so on and so forth? Those are the kinds of communication things you would want to put in that plan. Okay, so this comes to Q&A, and what I want to stop here and see if we have any, and then I'm going to talk to you about some specific forms for HTC. I'm going to actually stop sharing and see if you guys have any questions at this point. Contact emails and these resources. Okay, so let me I'm going to kind of drive you, somebody who's asking about resources like the names of all of the, do y'all know who your superintendent is? I'm going to put it in here just in case you don't. Okay, here's your district superintendent. I'm going to put it in this chat. This will also be on the recording. Let me just share my screen and kind of navigate around and show you how you can find some things. So when you go to the HTC, would you go right up to the very top up there? You can see there is some drop downs. And so you can see under About Us, go over to About Us, Keith. About Us, that's where you're going to see your conference staff. Okay, folks? And conference staff, that's where, scroll down, Keith, so we can see them all. They have their emails and everything. So there's your district superintendents and lay leaders in the cabinet. And then when you keep on going down, you see your district offices. These, they're all ladies, but all these people are amazing. They will help you with your job. And then as you keep scrolling down, you see the various centers, and those are the people that can help you that I told you about. The Director of Leadership Development is Derek, and Youth and Children and Care and Healing. They're all there. That will help you with your job. Okay, those are the contacts for the people. Okay, and then if you go all the way up to the top again under resources, if you look under lay training materials, you can see under SPRC, these slides are already there along with all the notes that are related to each of the slides. So you can find them right there. I'm going to share the SPRC evaluation of clergy. So can you guys see this? This is what the form looks like. This last year, we had a new clergy evaluation. It was new to everyone. And we use this to help, we developed this to help you guide your conversation throughout the year with your pastor. And it is aligned, all the conversation questions are aligned around the 5 strategic priorities in the HTC. So you'll see that right at the top. What specifically are you doing as a church to grow worship attendance? That's under multiply Jesus followers. And then we go into each of the, how is your pastor deploying the 5 strategic priorities in preaching and teaching? How are they supporting the different priorities, initiatives, and programs? And these are great opportunities for you and your pastor to have dialogue when you meet, so that you can, when it comes to filling out this form, you have information that you can put in there for us. We purposely left this portion as narrative because every context is so unique and specific rather than like evaluation from 1 to 5, right? We want to hear from you. How are you working together with your pastor to ensure that these 5 strategic priorities are helping you do your ministry? So there's, I think, 9 questions here that you can look at with them. Then after that, there is some evaluative kind of things, like these are skill sets that we expect pastors to have: integrity, sound United Methodist theology. Are they relational? Are they adaptive? Do they have visioning and keep the vision in front of you? Are they passionate about worship and proclamation, radical hospitality, intentional faith development? Do they have a pathway for discipleship, justice, administrative leadership, and pastoral care, and extravagant generosity? Here's an opportunity for you to score them. It's 1 to 6. We don't tell you what one is they need work, okay, least effective, they need growth, and 6 is their most effective, well-developed area, right? So you're going to score them, and then comments will be added next to that. So if you score them particularly low, then comments are appropriate, like that helps me if they have a low score in relationships. Say our pastor needs to develop a better way of relating with our shut-ins or something like that. Okay, so that gives you an opportunity to comment on those kinds of skills. The important thing is that this tool is not done in isolation or private or secrecy. It is done in relationship with your pastor. So it is appropriate for the committee to actually do some evaluation, but then speak with the pastor about it before submitting it to the district superintendent.
Can
Okay.
I ask a question?
Yes.
So are you saying that the committee should complete this evaluation and then review it with the pastor, or should it be done in real time with the pastor?
So that's a good question. Here is, let me weigh this. In a situation where there is a need for people to feel like they can speak, not about the pastor, but with concerns, list some concerns. You as a chairperson might receive that information offline, okay? Collect it. Therefore, then you can go through and remove hurtful comments, because the last thing you want to do is be in an environment where there is hurtfulness. We want our pastors to grow and develop. We want them to have healthy critique of how they can do that and continue to improve. But we also don't want it to be harmful. So I would suggest that every chairperson has to weigh that. You can collect that information and then remove the hurtful stuff in order to have an evaluative. The whole committee should work with the pastor when you finalize it, though. Okay.
So it comes to the chair one-on-one with the committee members.
Yeah.
And any outside input from the congregation, and then it gets filtered.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Others? Yes.
I have a question. Mine is more of a computer type question. Is this a PDF or we can I filled it out one a year or two ago, and we had a lot of information to put in there, but it wouldn't let us put it all in there.
Right.
And so I didn't know if this one's a PDF or not.
No, so this is what we call connections. I'm gonna share my screen again, I think. It is actually, I thought I was, but I'm not. It's not gonna come up. So connections is a link that you as an SPRC chair will get when it's time to fill out these forms, and it is all done online. So you can print it off ahead of time, fill it out, be ready, talk about it in your committee. And then when you fill it out, you will go online and it will fill out. So what I see is every word you type in there. So it's not a PDF, and it expands the field to as much text as you want. Okay?
That's
Yeah.
what I needed to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions?
I was just going to mention last year was the first time that I worked on a pastor review.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very helpful for me to sit down with the pastor with this form at the beginning of the year and to talk about what he was either planning or we could plan for him to satisfy each of those areas. And then we kind of knew going out through the year kind of what the roadmap was. So we weren't trying to figure it out at the end of the year.
Right. I am so glad you said that, Mary. That is like, um, that's helpful for the pastor. It's helpful for you. You set those out ahead of time, and then all year long, you're kind of coming back and saying, we set these goals, we did this, we, talked about doing these things. It helps there, and it also makes the forms a little easier at the end of the year to fill out for sure. Thank you for that input. Other comments? Questions? Okay. Let me see what else I wanted to show you. Oh, I can share this. Hold on. I did find connections. Okay. Let me show you what the connection site looks like. When you get that link, you will come to a page that looks like this. Welcome to Connections. The cool thing about this is it will have all of samples over here on the left-hand side. These are all the forms that SPRC will fill out, okay? And some that pastors fill out. You don't fill out all of these, okay? There is the clergy effectiveness form that SPRC fills out. And then there's also one that the clergy fills out on themselves. And those two lay side by side for the DS to see. There is a charge profile form, a sample form. That's where you get to tell us about your community and your neighborhood or your any specific ministry that you have that is really important. Tells us about your charge and your mission field. You can see there's comp reports. That's another part that SPRC fills out. Guidelines for minimum compensation. We do have minimums for our clergy, and so you'll want to make yourself aware of those. The Compass contribution, that's our new pension program, and those are for clergy to fill out. And then there's some housing information. When there is a connections link on this page, I think, and it lets you go straight into, all these up here. This is where you put these in. And you have to be able to log on, and you'll have that log on will come to you as an SPRC chair. You will have a particular log on, and you'll be able to enter compensation reports, the various charge conference reports, and the clergy and church review forms right there at the top.
Y'all been working on this, haven't you?
Yeah.
Big improvement.
Yes. Yes. That was important to us.
When do we get the do we not get the login information till later on, closer to that time, or do we get it earlier this year?
You can have it at any time because it never changes. You can call your district office and they can get it for you. It never changes. Now, there are different times of the year that you will not be able to submit a form except for during those form submittal times, but you can go in there and look at things, okay?
Okay.
Just for clarity,
Yeah.
is it still true that only the chair has access to this and can submit forms? Like for churches that have multiple pastors and maybe various individuals rating them, that needs to go to the chair and they're the ones that actually submit it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I think it's only the chair that has it. The pastor has one. And an administrator at the church has one that gives them access to rosters and other things that they have to complete and compile. So if you are in a situation, a very large church with multiple staffs that report maybe to an executive pastor or so on and so forth, then get with your district administrator and ask them about how that can be done. Okay, that would be the best. It's not like we keep all that too close. We can create more logins. We just, as a rule, it goes to the SPRC chair and to the pastor.
Actually, Cassie, can I
Yes.
speak to that?
Yes, Martha.
This is Martha Holcomb. I'm one of the district admin. We actually, as far as I'm aware, do not create new logins. So in the case, SPRC, only the chair gets them. For anyone who is a new SPRC chair this year, they just sent those emails out so you could create your login. If you were a returning one, you should still be able to log in. I don't think they resent those out for the returning SPRC chairs, but I'm not sure. So I need to get clarification on that, but my guess is they would either have whoever's doing the reports. The couple ways is give it to the chair who they can then enter that information, or it may be that you have to share it if you have another person on SPRC committee that you want to share it. But again, I can get clarification and on that, but they don't create new ones is my point.
Okay.
I do know that.
Okay. Thank you, Martha.
Okay.
I have another question. This may have been covered, and I may have missed it, but is there a comprehensive dated schedule of when all of these things need to be done?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. So at this point, our clergy evaluations are due around the 15th of October. Church profiles, I think around that same time. Martha, you might want to chime in. Okay, so be thinking about those things. I'm trying to think what else the SPRC has to put in. Compensation reports. Those are due. When is Martha,
Okay,
can you
so
tell me
the
when?
comp reports, and I'm going to be a little bit foggy because this last year we had quite a few changes, and some of the items, the original dates that they were due, we had to bump further out because we weren't complete with everything that everybody had access to. But I believe it's November 1st is when I want to say the evaluations were, but again, it may be like Cassie said that it's October 15th this coming year. I think we'll probably have a better handle on it this year since everything is in connections and it's ready to go. We had some delays again because a lot of that information was being entered. So I think she's right that it's probably going to be October 15th for the evaluations. The compensation reports, believe those are usually due December 1st. again, they may bump that out because, by the time, the holiday with the Thanksgiving holiday and all that and everything having to be in. But I believe this past year it was December 1st.
What I was thinking.
But they may be bump that out to November as well. We'll know more, and your district admins should be able to send you as we get in early fall. I'm sure we'll have a lot of those dates and can send those out and say, here's all the dates that you need to be aware of. I mean, certainly as Cassie has mentioned, as you're going throughout the year, if you can be working on these evaluations so you're not coming all the way up to October and going, oops, we haven't met and talked about this all year. We need to do this now and it's due next week. So if you can, as she said in here, start working on these different sections quarterly as you meet, you're much better prepared to then have everything entered in.
Yeah. And as you can tell, if you have a housekeeping question about when things are due, or how to access it, the best one to contact is your district administrator, not your DS. We don't always know the answers to those as directly as they do, but I just ask you all to call them. So thanks, Martha. Well, first I want to say how much I appreciate you doing this job. The SPRC job is one of the most beautiful, rewarding, absolutely gut-wrenching at times job in the life of the church. And even in the times when it's messy, because we deal with human beings and human being lives, this is holy and sacred work that you do. And I appreciate every single one of you who have said yes to do this work. It is truly a blessing. Also, I want to say thank you for all of the technology bumps as we went. This was our first time to do everything completely virtual this year. And so I appreciate everybody's patience and love of one another. We are about to go back into the main room. Many, many blessings in your work, friends. I appreciate your time.